Abby Case, come to the office.
How y'all doing today? Pretty good. Just doing it. I'm not doing the singing, but I keep playing. If you don't sing, It's time for Kevin Beasley Evening Bible Study. We'll take this opportunity to welcome everyone here. Certainly appreciate your presence. Let's all keep in mind Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. for our Sunday morning worship service. Plan now to be here for that. Everyone would secure a song book and turn to page 535. That'll be our first song in direction Brother Ronnie South. We certainly want to continue to remember all of those that I mentioned Sunday that's on our prayer list. Of course, keep them in our prayers here as well as at home. I want to give a quick update and also remind us of a couple. Patricia Kennedy, this is Michael's mother. Certainly, please be sure to remember her. She's been diagnosed with cancer, and Michael telling me
it was stage 4 cirrhosis, but she got a good report today.
okay, stage 4 cirrhosis, but she did get some good news today. Okay, we're thankful for that. So please continue to remember Patricia and family as well, and also Sissy went and she got a good report as well. They're going to watch hers, and she goes back in about 8 weeks, and they'll look at it again. But at this time, the report she got sounds good at the time. We're so thankful for that. So please continue to remember her. Johnny went Monday and got a good report. What did they report on, sir? But just kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyway, we're thankful for that, Bunny. Appreciate it. And hope and pray that yours continues. Also, Sissy's brother, Buddy, her twin brother, they're going to be running some more tests on him to determine the course of treatment that they're going to use for him. He has been diagnosed with stage 3 bladder cancer. So please remember him, keep him in your prayers as well. Also, Sister Margie Young, they moved Margie to Tishomingo Manor today. Don't know what room or nothing. They just did it later today, but anyway, Bill tells me that she is doing some better today, so thank for that. And I think yesterday had a real good day yesterday. So anyway, any improvement's good. So please keep Margie in your prayers as well. And also, Jeff Barnes, Jeff got to go home today. I think he's still on oxygen, but he did get to go home today. This is my first cousin, Judy's first cousin, dear Berkeley nephew. But anyway, please continue to remember Jeff in your prayers too. He's been dealing with pneumonia and COVID as well. But I hope and pray that he will continue to improve. Also, I'm sorry to announce that Roger Wigginton, yesterday, Roger passed away yesterday morning. The arrangements for his funeral are completed at that. I will try to let you know as soon as we know anything, but at this time they've not made the arrangements yet. Anyway, please remember this family in your prayers as well. Roger has been a part of the Farmington Water Association for a little over 40-something years. So, for somebody today, him and Danny rode around that old truck for a little over 40 years together. So, anyway, that's a long time for two people to be together. But anyway, please remember this family in your prayers. There may be others that I need to mention that I've overlooked. If you are, please let me.
I'm very sorry for crying.
And I've mentioned it once and I forgot it. I didn't.
And Carolyn Fails, we keep her on the.
Give me just 1 second. Let me write it down. Okay, Carolyn Fields, of course, has been sick for several weeks now. Please remember her. And Judy is having her surgery Friday. It's on your hand, if I'm not mistaken. Are they going to remove them? I'm just kidding.
Don't use the joints.
Yeah. Okay. Connie said they put no ham hard ribs.
That's okay. He's looking at me that sharp when he goes.
I have not started something. She gets his shirt when he goes to the nursery. All right. Anyway, moving right along. Anyway, I'm afraid to take no questions. But it is great if you get it. But anyway, if there's anyone else I've overlooked, please let me know. And also, we're thankful for Tamara Green, who came forward and recommitted herself Sunday evening. Remember her in your prayers as well. Ladies, don't forget about the November the 18th, 15th is the fellowship at Vitoro, 5:30 p.m. So ladies, keep that in mind. Also, November the 7th That'll be the, First Sunday Fellowship meal as well as the, youth devo here. And that will also, if I'm not mistaken, that will be the weekend that the time drops back, from daylight savings. Is that not correct? So it'll be that same weekend, so the time will change and we'll have the fellowship meals and then have the youth devo as well.
We'll probably have a meeting after church on Sunday morning about it.
Okay, so keep that in mind, a quick get together meeting about the youth devo Sunday morning and meeting following services. You can go ahead and make plans for that. We always, in the past, we've had a fantastic turnout, large crowds, and hopefully we will this time as well. Is there anything else? Order of worship, Brother Ronnie will be leading their singing. Randy, you have the opening prayer. Michael, you have the Clayton, you have the closing prayer. Michael, you have the invitation. Now, hold on.
5:35. All three verses, 5:35. Listen. I'm in the way, the bright shining. I'm in the glory land way. Telling the world that Jesus saves. Yes, I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. Heaven is here and we grow. For I'm in the glory land way. Listen to the call, the gospel call today. Get in the glory land way. Wanderer, come home, no place to obey. For I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. Heaven is here and we grow here. For I'm in the glory land way. Onward I go, rejoicing in His love. I'm in the glory land way. Soon I shall see Him in that home of gold. I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land way. I'm in the glory land. Heaven is here and we grow here. For I'm in the glory land way.
Father, our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for today, for the many blessings that we have spiritually and materially. Father, we thank Thee for this opportunity to assemble here, to sing songs of praise to Thee, officially and prayer. Father, we thank Thee for Thy Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for sin. Father, we pray that Your blessing will be on the sick, all over, especially mentioned here tonight. Pray that You will bless the men and youth for them back to work. Father, we pray for those who are bereaved, especially big families. Pray that they will learn to be operating guides on the process. Father, we pray that Your blessing will be upon the teachers as we enter into our Bible classes. Pray that You'll give them a ready remembrance of things that pray that we will lay aside all worldly thoughts and find our lives. Father, we pray that Your blessing will pray that we will grow in knowledge, truth, love one for another. Father, we pray that Your blessing will be on body, and that You will give them the wisdom and knowledge, make decisions and be the course I will. Father, we pray that you will give each of us on also of our Lord. Pray that you will help us to follow sin. Pray that you will go with us in the name of this service.
You get out on the count. Take them out. Take them out.
There's an argument to be made there for that, but at the same time, those same people that are making that argument will go to McDonald's 5 days a week and have chicken nuggets, and those chicken nuggets are not from Taco Bell. True story. I hope that everybody's doing all right this evening. I have in my notes that we finished, or we got to the very end of this chapter where we're right at the questions. And, we've been talking about this idea of training preachers. And most of this is going to focus on, most of these questions are going to focus on the idea of training men to preach and to serve at the local congregation. But, I preface almost every class with the understanding that it's not just the man who stands in the pulpit to preach to others. It's all of us in attendance all the time. Those of us that are here that participate in the acts of worship, that sit in a pew, that teach a Bible class, or even just attend a Bible class. We all have the same responsibility. And so, we'll go through here, we'll answer these questions, and we'll have some discussion along the way. Looking at the first questions on the middle of page 58. True, false. Training and motivating men to preach begins and ends in the local church. Okay, I heard a little bit of both there. Okay. Yeah, I do agree with Bobby this time. Bobby looks scared over there. No, this is, does the local church bear a responsibility? Absolutely. But when we're talking about the training and the motivating of men to preach, it's the local church is involved in that, but it's not where it starts. and it's not where it's supposed to end. This is something that begins and ends in the home. Okay, number 2. Proper training is not too important in developing men into faithful preachers. It's not too important. I think it's extremely important. Absolutely, we have to have. I mean, what goes into the training? What goes into the training of a gospel preacher or anybody? Study. Bible classes, right? Those are things that we're supposed to have in order to make sure that we are that we're trying to at least show that we're making an attempt, right? Number 3, finances should be the least of the preacher's cares. Finances, yeah, that's according to the book here. That's true. Okay, number 4. Huh?
Could that have a little bit of hope? Now, what does the Bible say about what we're supposed to support someone? I'm just saying, kind of
Okay.
think about it a little bit. You know, that's a big thing today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that today is going to put a lot of men going into the preaching.
Right. So I guess it depends on how you look at that statement, really. Okay, so finances should be the least of the preacher's cares. First of all,
if he is supported the way he should be, then
right.
Now look,
It's not like a living thing.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he's got to, when you say that's the least of his care, his family's got to, be a part of that as well.
I think the way that it's positioned here in this book is talking about from the angle of the local congregation should be able to support the preacher and his family.
I think the statement should be he should not have to preach. If he's supported in the way that he should be, he shouldn't have to worry about it.
Right. I can see that from both perspectives.
Bob, you might have hard, but
No, I see what he's saying. He's basically saying the same thing. He's just putting different. Yeah, he's got to have something to add to it. But yeah, again, this is. You don't what?
You'll have to ask him. I don't understand.
You don't muzzle them? Is that what? Okay. I'm not going to get into that. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, sorry. All right. All right. Number 4. We need to do more teaching in the field of basic values. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. I think that we've talked about that idea of values several times over the past couple weeks, and the problem with values is the idea that the things that one person values is going to be different than another. A lot of that has to do with just simply the amount of training that people have. Or it could be, one of the things I try to explain to my students, a lot of times they try to look at people from, because they're teenagers, they often look at the social status, or maybe even the socioeconomic status of other people. And a lot of times they'll make judgment calls based on that. And they'll look at those things and they'll subscribe value to those things. But I try to help them understand that the value of that person is going to be different. Because their education is going to be different. Everybody's going to come from a different set of experiences, and that's going to lead them to where they are at that point. But at the same time, a lot of people they don't grow up in the church. A lot of people not very experienced when it comes to Scripture. I am often reminded of that when I'm sitting in a classroom and I'm listening to people talk. They have no idea what they're talking about, or they don't know anything about Scripture. They don't know, they don't know anything about the origin of creation, and it's mind-boggling. So that's something that we in the local congregation we need to make sure that we're focusing on. Again, one of those things that I think that we do a pretty good job of is when there is an opportunity, when we have. I think we talked about Brad Harrod before. He's one of those guys. I think he used to work for Apologetics Press. And he's that guy that he can come around and he can talk about how many animals could actually feasibly fit on the ark. And a lot of times we don't take that into account. And he does an excellent job. If you've been, most of you guys have been to the Ark Museum in Kentucky, and it's another good one that really kind of goes into some of those same details. But the fact is that we're almost fighting an uphill battle against ignorance, maybe. That's, I guess, the easiest way to put it. And don't misunderstand, ignorance is simply the fact that you don't know something. It doesn't mean you're stupid, it doesn't mean that you can't learn. It just means that that we're ignorant. Okay, number 5. The preacher's influence is limited to the number of lives he can personally touch. It's false. I think there's some truth to that too. I think it's another one of those where there can be some truth to it. The person who stands in the pulpit, he can stand up there and he can deliver a lesson, and beyond that, whose responsibility is it to take that any further? Anyone who's present, right? Okay, so this is another one of those. I lean toward false, but I can see a little bit of truth in it too, because it's not just the preacher's responsibility. It's not just he can have a certain level of influence, but it also is that influence of the people who sit in the assembly. If we're talking about people who you may come into contact with that I'll never have an opportunity to talk to, but they see that you're not attending services regularly. Does it have anything to do with the guy up here? No. Okay. So I can kind of see that a little bit of truth to that as well. I do lean more toward the false on that. Okay. Fill in the blanks. Number 1. God had only one son, and he was a preacher. Yeah. Okay, number 2. The work of the evangelist is to edify, evangelize, and enlist. Yep, very good. Okay. 2 Timothy. Very good. 4:6-8 teaches there is a crown awaiting the faithful preacher. Okay, number 4. Blank. Pray ye therefore the Lord of harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. Matthew 9:38. Number 5. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you on this. I read this chapter, beginning to end, at least 6 times before I found this. And I don't know why. I don't know why it took me that long to read it. Maybe it's because I didn't read the conclusion. I read everything except for the conclusion 5 or 6 times, and then I was like, oh, there it is. Okay. Number 5, we should train and motivate young men to become men of the cross with the message of the cross bearing the marks of the cross. Yeah, it's right there in the conclusion, right across the page. But I just read the whole thing 6 times. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Number one, the pillar of the ground of the truth is located in 1 Timothy 3:15. Okay. They shall all be taught of God is
John 6:45.
John 6:45. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists.
Ephesians 4:11.
Ephesians 4:11. But seek ye first the kingdom of God.
Mark 6:33.
Matthew 6:33.
Yeah, Matthew.
Matthew 6:33.
I said Matthew.
You said Matthew, yes. That's what I
I
thought.
thought I said Mark, but I
Okay. They're close enough, right?
had it wrote down, I just read it.
Oh, that's okay. All right, number 5. They shall sow in tears and shall reap in joy.
Psalm 126.
Psalm 126:5. Okay, answer in a few words, and this is one of those that they're really kind of like, I don't even put anything on these. I put no answer here. Because usually when we look at these, it's kind of almost a discussion that we end up having with these. Okay, what facts show that there is a crisis pertaining to having enough preachers? What's some facts? What's some evidence that we might see and that tells us that there's just not enough people preaching?
Some preachers might have to preach.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. You have some people who preach at more than one congregation, right? Okay. What else? Okay. We don't see enough young men that desire to fill that position, right? Okay. What's huge glaring evidence of the fact that there's just not enough people preaching? And I'm not limiting it to people that stand in the pulpit. This is true. This is true. But there's a huge glaring piece of evidence.
This day and time, I'm sorry. This day and time, you people wait to speak. Right? And we persecute our witness. And you see it taking place now.
Yeah.
You're on Jesus or God, and all the writings that are taking place, newscasts, everything. No. Not to me, people are afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
They're afraid to speak up.
Okay, so I would say that that's a good one. Yeah, those are both good. It's the fact that people are afraid to stand up and speak the truth. There's a decline in membership. Okay, there is when we look at the division in the world. Okay, to me personally, that's one of the things that just kind of it really, when you consider the state of the world right now, and just the amount of division that exists right now. Okay, why is that there? Why do we have this kind of division? That's it. Because people are following nothing. People are too busy. Yeah, well, that's it, right? And what are those? For all intents and purposes, nothing. Yeah, they're following. Do what?
Satan.
Yeah, I mean that's true. They're Satan has them right where he wants them, right? So, to me, one glaring evidence of the fact of that we are in a crisis, and this was written 50 years ago. Has this crisis gone away at all? Not at all. I'd say it's probably even gotten worse. But when we look at this crisis, when we look at less the gospel preacher, but more even the things that are happening at the personal level, is. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, okay. So 50 years ago, early 1970s, it was a different world. It was a different world 20 years ago than what it is now. Yeah.
That's 30 years ago, instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a fantastic perspective there. So 50 years ago, what would be the percentage of those people who said that they were Christian in the United States? Much larger. Okay, Ronnie said somewhere in the 70th percentile, 70-something percent. You saw something on that this morning? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably not wrong though. I mean, now you're looking at if it's half, I'd be surprised. If it's half of the people that 40-something percent, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's your crisis. There it is. If there's no other evidence, it's right there in that statistic. I need to do that. It gets worse. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Ask you.
Yeah. Ask you. She's not in here. She didn't hear you say that. Yeah.
Guys, so many times we want to treat our Christianity like we are coach. We don't put it on when we're coach, take it off when we want.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it works. And the world has become more prosperous. God has been shoved further on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's only you notice in times of real crisis, whenever people consider the thing kind of seem like a level out a little bit. Okay, back to normal. You know, don't need him out there.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works. I think that, I say, the world is changing. The fact that it no longer puts any emphasis on worship service. Years ago, schools didn't play nothing on Wednesday night because they knew it was the Bible.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
Go right on the plane, right on through.
Yeah.
The emphasis is not there 50 years ago, though. It was there.
I will say that here, for the most part, you still will not see things planned for Wednesday night in this area. That doesn't mean that in other places that's not the case. I know that with Chloe's play, they're not practicing on Wednesdays, and the reason for that is pretty simple, because people are occupied elsewhere. So I think that there's still some. There are still some that are planning their Wednesday night to be a Bible class, but it's still not a large priority. You know, it kind of reminds me too of well, this will wrap up.
They're not going to church.
What's that?
They're not planning other activities, but they're not going to church.
That's not wrong. Yeah, I mean, there are people that even if they're not doing anything, they're staying home, or they're going to grocery shopping, or whatever else they want to do. Well, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, how many times have we been driving to church on Sunday morning and we see somebody loading up? They're getting their boat ready to go out on the lake. Okay, there's no question in our mind what they are doing. They're not going to be here, and it's a huge problem with priorities. Okay, number 2, it says, how can we establish the fact that the church has the responsibility of training men to preach, or training anyone to be, for that matter? What do you think? How can we establish the fact that the local church has that responsibility? To me, it's a pretty simple equation. If we're not going to do it, who will? Nobody. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on its own. If we don't reach out to people, if we don't grow involvement, then it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to pick it up just because someday and decide that that's because they have nothing else to do. This is not going to happen. We have to show them what it actually means to be a Christian. We have to show them all of it, and then at that point, then we can start to teach those who want to preach. Number 3, what can elders do about the preacher shortage? Let's open that up to the church itself. Because this I don't think is exclusive to the elders. What can the church do about the preacher shortage? You want to focus on the elders, you can, but okay, they're both in here, so now's the time to throw stuff. Tomatoes, whatnot.
They encourage people to go into preaching.
Absolutely. Yeah, they can encourage. Okay. So how might they do that? How might an elder encourage someone to go into preaching?
Well, at an early age, like Clayton, being there, encourage them, give them a pointer on how to command the room.
Yeah.
And when they do it, reinforce them, encourage them, say, you did a good job. And whenever it comes time for Sunday, say, you want to lead singing, you want to say a prayer, just make them used to it at an early age,
Mhm.
second nature.
Yeah.
It's not an intimidating thing as they get older. And so, and then plant that seed, so you thought about doing that. Anybody here can do that. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But that's me. That's what we need to be doing.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Everybody in here, anytime that we sing to somebody like Clayton, stand up and encourage them, give them opportunities. I can remember in school, I didn't mind the public speaking classes. That didn't bother me so much. But the leading singing thing, no, it's not going to happen. I hated it. Didn't like it at all. Okay? And it's just not for me. But the thing is that with encouragement, okay, and sometimes that encouragement is like, okay, you need to go ahead and do this. It's time to quit. Time to quit being a wuss and stand up and go ahead and do it. But anyway, the idea though is that we need to make sure that we encourage, give opportunities. And on the other hand, for Clayton, he's been really good at just taking those opportunities and doing well with them. When they do that, make sure that you encourage them. At that point, let's say that Clayton stands up here and gives a devotional, and I'm not just saying, I'm saying Clayton because he's the one that we got right now, but let's say that Clayton gets up here and he's stuttering, he can't complete a sentence. Okay, when he gets down, what should we do? Pat him on the back, tell him he did a good job. Because the fact of the matter is, getting up here and doing anything the first time, the 7th time, the 70th time, it can be nerve-wracking. Okay? And some people they don't like to get up in front of people. Okay? So anytime that we encourage them, they're going to get a little bit more comfortable every single time. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we give them that pat on the back, tell them that they did a good job. And then later on, have an opportunity for them to learn, have those classes, have the things like the lads to leaders, where we can sit down and have a class. How do you do this? What's the best way to approach creating a devotional? Okay, it's only got to be 5 minutes. It doesn't take much. It's a single point. Get up, say what you got to say, and sit down. Okay, it's not that big an issue. Okay.
There's another aspect of that too.
Sure.
We already encourage them, give them an opportunity and so forth. And they progress and encourage the servant on the preacher.
Mm-hmm.
There's another strong part that we have to be a part of.
Right.
That is, as we've done in the past, there's not scholarship for young men for preaching.
There's not.
Scholarship for airplane now.
Yeah.
And we have supported men in school of preaching, helping along with other congregations all those contributed together to help support them, while they went to.
Yeah.
And learn because of the preacher.
Right.
So that is a major aspect of it too.
Yeah.
You've done everything else, but then if you don't go the rest of the way, you just want to say, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
That's an excellent point too. That's something that would be, when we're talking about, okay, the responsibility of the local congregations to give the pat on the back. Okay, the responsibility of the eldership would be to say, okay, well, we need to take this money, we need to set it aside in the event that we have somebody who wants to do that. Or somebody comes to us and says, okay, I'm going to Methodist School of Preaching, and I need some support. Okay, that's an excellent point. That is something that would be exclusive to the eldership of a congregation. So, excellent point. Thank you for that, Bobby. Okay, what about the home? What can we do at home to encourage young people?
I need to know the material.
Really?
Bob.
Go over the material, yeah.
Really need to know that.
Right.
You ain't gonna understand the concept unless you study something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But at home, set that example.
Setting an example, yeah, absolutely. Study. Let them see you study. Let them see you pray. Okay, there's not anything wrong. You know, we don't like to show vulnerability. We don't like to do that. But when our children see that, okay, we understand that there is a higher power, and we understand that we are subject to God, and we kneel down and we pray. What does that tell our kids? It's another excellent example there. Okay. Okay, I think we just kind of already did number 5 here. It says make a list of practical things the congregation can do to encourage young men to be preachers. We kind of already covered that base there. So we can bypass that one, unless you have anything else that you want to add to that. Okay. Looking at our multiple choice here, Christian colleges can blank the local church in training preachers. Supplement, yeah. Okay. A supplement is supplant means to take the place of it. Okay. It's not what a Christian college can do. It's something that can add to and to strengthen. That's what it's there for. Okay, we need more blank teaching our Bible classes. Andrews, yep. Okay, the work of preaching should be embellished or de-emphasized. Embellished. Okay. Number 4, Daniel, David, and Paul said that they who turned many or few to righteousness shall shine as the sun, moon, or stars. Daniel, many, and stars. And stars. Okay, number 5. But to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward is located in Proverbs 11:18. Okay. Discussion questions in your thinking. What 3 things have contributed to the preacher shortage more than anything else? But we kind of already talked about some of those things too. And again, we don't have to limit it to 3. We talked about just really kind of the state of the world today, the way that it's the secular world really kind of almost even ridicules Christianity anymore. And I think that that's going to be a huge one. What else might there be here that would contribute to the preacher shortage? What about the lack of the example at home? Would that be a good one? Okay. Discouragement, yeah. How easy is it to become discouraged as a Christian in general? Okay. Let's say that you talk to somebody and you might even sit down and have a Bible study with them. And then they walk away from it. You might walk away from it feeling good. And then they come back later and they're saying, well, let's try my book again. That's not what they said. But why did I'm going to put it down. I'm gonna put it down. Well, I'm just gonna hold on to it a little bit. Maybe. It's not a good sign. If I drop it one more time, I'm just gonna sit down. Okay. Trying to hold on there. Alright, so what else? What else? Okay, we said discouragement. What else? It could be. Yeah, and a lot of that could be too. We had a family friend who he was a preacher in Tupelo, and he lost his job. And in order to find a congregation that paid comparably to what he was used to, he had to move to Texas because there was nothing local. Some of that could have simply just been a certain standard of living that he had in his head, but I don't know. It's tough. Okay. What can be done in a practical way within the local church where you attempt to motivate and inspire young men to preach? I think we're doing a good job with that. I think that the leaders, I think we do a good job of patting people on the back when they participate. What atmosphere surrounds the life of the preacher, and with what image is he identified? Again, it's one of those things where I think that we should really kind of focus on embellishing that position, and maybe try to encourage younger people to follow that. Okay, good job today. We will pick up in chapter 9 next week. Okay, we need to replace the battery. Set that out loud so I won't get on. Because apparently my finger's not working. It should be. Yes, sir.
Several days. Okay. You don't need to please, put her on the list too.
Okay. We're just waiting on the third week. Okay, I think that's everybody. Real quick, I was asked to announce Sue Smith is not feeling very well. She's been sick for a couple weeks now, and so we need to continue to remember her in our prayers. Also, Gracie Youngblood is having some test run. Do we know anything more than that at this point? Okay. Really? Okay.
She has an appointment in Memphis. Sherry said it for class. I can't remember when she said, but it was like out as far. I mean, it took a while to get it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she's got a test, something to do with her heart, and this is a COVID resident. It's been months since they had it. A couple months at least.
Couple months.
Okay. Alright, so make sure that you do keep those in your prayers, and now I'm going to put that in Michael's way.
I'm going to read two verses to open with tonight. The first verse comes from James chapter 4, verse 14. Verse says, "You do not know what will happen tomorrow, or what is your life. It is even a vapor that appears for a little time, and vanishes away." And 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 tells us, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with a fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up." Life can change on a dime. You can call for test results and get scary news. Just living in this world, dealing with COVID and the vision of this world is scary. You face adversity and you face struggles, and you're constantly reminded that you're not guaranteed anything in this life. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not even guaranteed the next hour. And that makes it very scary if you are not a Christian. And it makes you, even if you're a Christian, it's scary. But if you're a Christian and your faith is strong, it takes a lot of stress off of them. Or it does me. I know whenever we got some pretty heavy news this week, it was if I did not have my faith, and if I wasn't grounded, I don't know how I would have handled it. I don't know how you would deal with people, how it would affect your day. I mean, your interactions with everybody. Sometimes we shut down when we hear bad news, but if you're grounded in the faith, the Lord, His will be done. We'll do what we got to do and pray to the Lord, and we'll be all right. And that's a great comfort to have, and it's a comfort that I hope everybody here tonight has. I would hate to know that somebody you love or yourself is facing something they do not have the faith and they don't have the comfort. Miss Green was a great inspiration to us all this past Sunday when she came forward to Peter's store to ask for prayers. That takes courage. And none of us in this room are perfect. None of us live a perfect life. We may try, but we all fall short every day. I know us are. But I know at the end of the day, I do have to guarantee our Lord in heaven loves us. And He died for us. And if there's anything holding you back from accepting that, if you need to be restored, if you need to be saved, to have that comfort, to know that you are saved, and that you can look for His will to be done no matter what you face. If there's something in your way, something holding you back, and if there's something that the church can do to help you, won't you please come now? Let's go stand.
909. 909, all three verses. There's a fountain free just for you and me. Let us haste made to its spring. It's a fountain of love from the source of love, and He bids us all free to drink. Will you come to the fountain free? Will you come? It's for you and me, thirsty soul. Hear the welcome call. Is the fountain open for all? There's a living stream with a crystal gleam from the throne of life. Now it flows while the waters roll. Let the weary soul hear the call, and forth we go. Will you come to the fountain great? Will you come? It's for you and me, thirsty souls. Hear the welcome come, is a fountain open for all. There's a rock that slept, and no soul is left that may not its pure water share. Is for you and me, and this stream I see, let me take some joyfully there. Will you come to the fountain free? Will you come? It's for you and me, thirsty souls. Hear the welcome call, is a fountain open to all. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. If you're visiting with us, you're honored guest, and you can come back anytime you can. I'd like to thank everyone for the prayers on my behalf. I got to do the report Monday. I'm going to make a few. I just got to go back in a few months for another check. That's right. Not worried about it anymore. I was kind of worried. I appreciate the prayer. I love all. If there's not anything else,
Wait, hands.
play.
Found positive coaches and thank you. We pray that we'll be a part of the job. We pray that you'll be able to elevate and be we pray for the church that it grows in numbers. We pray for those who have lost loved ones. Pray for those families. Lord, we pray to keep your healing hand on those. We pray to keep your healing. Those who have seizures, we pray that you keep them safe. Pray that you keep God the hands of those doctors, and that we pray that you make them and your choices. We pray that you'll be with us as we